A proud member of Club 24, Ventura Toastmasters. We call ourselves Club 24 because we were the 24th club to start in Toastmasters more than 80 years ago. We have 30 members, more than any other club in this division. The 5 of us that you see up here, we represent 5 clubs. 1 out of 3 members in our division is a member of one of our 5 clubs.
Wow.
We are anywhere from larger than the average club to 5 times as large as the smallest club. So what is it that we can teach you about how to recruit new members and retain members? So first I'm going to have our speakers go and just say the name of their club, the name of their club, and what area they're in so that you can know who you're rooting for. And then we'll go back, we'll each take 2 or 3 minutes to talk about what we do to recruit and retain members, and after that we'll take questions. So.
I'm Tim Mullins. I'm a member of Camarillo Evening Toastmasters and a proud member of Area B3.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, my name is Joseph Donovan. I am a proud member of Point Magoo Toastmasters, Area B2.
Toastmasters and guests, my name is Pat Moran, and I'm the Educational Vice President of one of the finest clubs around, Sandpiper's Toastmasters, Area 1. Area 1.
I'm Bob Massey, and I'm the Educational Vice President of Sunrise Toastmasters, Area B4, certainly the best area.
Tim, let's start with you. Tell us what your club does to recruit and retain members. Whatever your preference is.
I can't hear you.
Okay. You can't hear me because I wasn't saying anything. First off, I'd like to ask you a question. How many of you want new members for your club? Raise your hand. Now, how many of you want those members to magically appear? That ain't gonna happen. But what we do at Camarillo Evening Toastmasters is we first need to attract new members. And the way to do that is what George said. He took everything that I was going to say and he ripped it off. So, thank you, George. But once you've attracted a new member or a guest, what do you do then? The first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you have quality meetings. Make your meetings meaningful. If your meetings are meaningful and something that guest will appeal to that guest, then they will come back. Now, understand this. Camarillo Evening Toastmasters, very, very seldom do we make a guest a member at their first meeting. How many of your clubs do that? Make a guest a member at their first meeting. Very few. 3 times. The average is 3 times for a guest to visit before they become a member. So you need to make your meetings memorable and meaningful, but you also need to make your meetings consistent. And most of all, above all of those other things, make your meetings fun. Because how many of you want to go for an hour of your life every week or every 2 weeks and be bored to tears? Please raise your hand and let me know who wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Yeah, Twan does. But that's just because you're the guy who's bored. No, we want to have fun, don't we? Life is too short not to have fun. And I tell you what, Camarillo Evening Toastmasters, in my humble opinion, is a fun club. We enjoy our, come on, yeah. We have so much fun during that meeting. That is one of the things that our guests say often. They say, this was so much fun. You guys look like you're having so much fun. And that's what it's all about. And I believe my time is probably up.
Ladies and gentlemen, what my fellow friend here, Tim Mullen, said, I agree with heartily. And that's about all I have to say. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, Tim here was a member of Point Mugu Toastmasters Club, and he helped set the standard that we at Point Mugu tried to live up to. And a lot of what he has said is actually very true. We tried to make our club meetings fun. That's, I think, one of the key things for us is to do. And then a lot of the other things that George talked about, and I heartily agree, really, with what he said about the use of the web page and the email list. Very, very good suggestions. We try to have regular open houses. We, at Point Mugu, we have a challenge in that we are a closed environment being on a military base. So, you know, we can't attract from the outside community, but we seem to do okay. We've been around for 60 years. So I think we're doing all right. We constantly try new things. We try marketing different groups of the base, like leadership programs. We have the base has various leadership programs for their employees, and we give speeches to them and encourage them to think about joining Toastmasters. We constantly are reminding our members to talk up Toastmasters. So all of these things are things that we try to do on a regular basis, and I think they're fairly successful. We're currently at about 20-25 members right now, and it's a constant turnover, but we seem to be holding our own. Okay, so that's all I have to say for
Ditto. I joined Sandpipers 24 years ago because of one reason and one reason only. The name had the same name as my favorite golf course. Sandpiper Golf Course in Goleta. And that was it. I was searching for a club at that time, and the name stuck, and I walked into a very welcome and warm group of people. Now that's partly true and it's partly not. My wife pushed me pretty hard to join the Sandpipers because I was speaking a lot within my company at that time, and it was difficult for me to do it. But I got lucky. I really got lucky because I joined one of the finest, one of the best clubs I think that are around. And I've been in different clubs. I've joined different clubs in other places in California, in Texas, and in Oregon, and around the country. And I really believe Sandpipers is a pinnacle of doing the best it can at bringing the speakers to their best. And because of that reputation, I think I have three quick ideas on why we have that reputation. The first one is we constantly pursue excellence in more ways than one. We are looking at speakers new and old. We've had people that have been around for 40 years, 45 years, and they constantly have time to improve as well. Our evaluators are constructively criticizing and supporting and bringing the speakers to their best ability. And it is fun. Number two, we have a pretty strong dress code. As you probably know, when you come into our club, most people are with a tie and jacket, and we think that makes a difference. And I've noticed over the years when people come and stay for a while, they recognize that it does make a difference when they're speaking in the real world. So we do have a strong dress code. We don't require it, although the organization doesn't mandate it. We strongly encourage it. And number 3, we really look to the founder's principles. Ralph Smedley, we're reminded of that with some of the members in the club, and that is that he wanted to recognize communication skills as the forefront of being successful in business and in your personal life. I think he had a couple of thoughts that said we learn best in moments of enjoyment, and that goes to the fun part. And he also said the unprepared speaker has a right to be afraid. So true. So whether it's the name of the club or it's the geographical place where that club is, wherever it is, I think you'll find that your interests will match that particular club's focus. And if it's sandpipers, you're not going to hit a hole-in-one every time, but you're going to come pretty close.
How many of you welcome every guest? It's a good showing. How many of you have clubs where all of the members make an effort, and they may not be able to, sometimes the guests have to leave early, but make an effort to welcome every guest? Not quite as many. George's presentation was excellent.
Yes.
That's one of the first things you need to do, is everybody in the club needs to be engaged with guests and needs to be engaged with new members. You have to make those people feel welcome. You have to make them feel important. I belong to Sunrise Toastmasters. We get up and we have that meeting at 6:30 every morning. A lot of people that we invited guests go, 6:30? No, I can't do that. But once we bring them into the meeting and we welcome them, that brings them back. The other thing, the second thing that brings them back, is the meeting itself. You have to plan your meetings. And I'm addressing this to not the excellent clubs, because I know that they plan their meetings, but to the startup club, the low membership clubs. You have to make an extra effort to plan your meetings. That means the meetings get planned in advance by the educational vice president. That means that the Toastmaster that is assigned to that meeting follows up with every member, either by email, and if they can't raise them up by email, there's always that thing called a telephone. But make sure that that meeting is organized, that it's in place, that the meeting you're going to give is going to be the best meeting that you can possibly give. And every meeting needs to be that way. Every single meeting. Meetings that are well planned out show that your club has got it together, that you're organized, and not only that, but the fact that you're organized means that you care. And that's critical. And that's one of the reasons why our club has maintained a membership for the past 30 years of 20 to 30 people. Almost every year. Not every single year, but almost every year. And so the senior members of the club are the people that are in charge of that have to make sure that that happens. And so those people, the people that are the senior members, and I suspect most of you probably are senior members of your club, but you probably have a few others that are excellent Toastmasters. You need to talk to them. You need to work constantly to have good meetings. Because if you bring in a guest and you have a good meeting, you'll have a new member. Thank you.
take questions, I want to tell you just one trick. 3 of our panelists had several weeks to prepare what they were going to say today. One was tapped at the last minute when a speaker fell out due to illness. I'm going to bet you can't tell which was the one who was tapped at the last minute. That is the gift of Toastmasters, that if you have a few minutes warning to give a speech, you can give a speech that is the equal of everyone else with almost no preparation or time to plan. So could you tell who was the person who was tapped at the last minute? No. Nope. Should I call you out?
Sure.
Bob Massey.
Yeah. Bob.
How often does that happen in people's lives?
A lot.
Your boss is sick, you gotta step in, you gotta do that PowerPoint, you've had no time to prepare. That's the gift of Toastmasters, that you can walk up and master it and not feel terrible, not do a bad job, do a good job. When we recruit people, we are offering them that gift. To not have the fear of public speaking, to not have stomach problems every time you have to stand up in front of people. So you offer the gift of Toastmasters when you recruit people. When you retain people, you are telling each of your members, we're providing a good club experience. You can stay with us with confidence that you'll continue to grow. I've been a member of my club for 9 years. I still continue to learn something virtually every week. So now we'll open it up to questions for our panelists. Alan.
Do any of the panelists feel strongly about, or have somebody in the club designated to follow up on members who all of a sudden stop coming to a meeting? That really falls under the retention end. I mean, I've seen it where all of a sudden someone will join, they come for about 6 months off, and they just sort of disappear off the face of the earth.
I'll repeat the question for everyone. Do your clubs have somebody who is designated to follow up with people who start falling away from the club?
I'll start out by saying that, no, we don't. But, thanks to Dan Murray and his inspiration, we have decided that we are going to make sure that every single member has a mentor assigned, and that's going to be published along with the schedule for the entire 6 week. We do a 6 week schedule. That's going to be published. It's that mentor's responsibility to follow up, and we were in the process of. We were just in the process of doing that. We're still learning. So that's what we're doing to try and overcome that, because it's not easy when somebody doesn't show up. It's not easy to follow up. It's very easy to ignore that, to overlook it and think about all the other things that are going on that were wonderful about the club.
I'd like to follow up with what Bob said. We actually, in our club, have a position called Mentor Master, and that's a person that's designated to follow up with the individual members and also to members that maybe have fallen away.
We don't have anybody designated to do that, but we have a guy named Wayne Schott.
Again, he was saying it to the front of the room, not the back of the room.
Okay, a little louder.
A little louder,
Thanks, Louise.
So you want me to repeat that?
Yeah.
Wayne Schott is just an unbelievable gentleman that sends out email blasts and makes sure that he makes contact with all the members, whether they've been active or inactive, and has done that, for the last several years. I know we do have a guest book that we make sure we hover over that person when they're signing that guest book to make sure they get their full phone number and their email and every bit of contact information that we can get. And thank you, Wayne, for following up on that.
Okay. Another question in the back? Questions? Yes, this woman in the red.
How do you get professionals who do speak on a regular basis that don't have any working knowledge of Toastmasters to come in and just visit a meeting? The type of person that says, oh, well, I speak all the time and we don't seem to have a problem with that. We're very well versed, when in actuality, being a Toastmaster, you see, well, there's always room for improvement.
How do you get people who are already speaking to come to Toastmasters? Me personally, I'll tell you my recruitment story, I was in a car with a man who was president of his Toastmasters Club in Camarillo,